Okay, let's talk about these balance changes. So this is the Lamania update 70s, Lamania for update 76. No idea when this is gonna come out. Kind of surprised it came out this early because they had a Lamania last week and they're gonna have an update this week on that Lamania, so I'm kind of surprised. This update is gonna have the Fae event. Not gonna go over that. Just gonna talk about the balance changes because that's more likely for people to care. Okay, let's start with the Finesse Pass. I don't know why this is a problem, but it's interesting. All weapons that benefit from the Finesse feat now innately use the higher of Dexterity or Strength for hit and damage, just like more recent versions of D&D. Scimitar is now a light weapon with lower offhand penalty, so it is included. I don't think this changes anything. Because... well, I guess you can play a Dex Dragonlord, but I don't know why you'd play a Dex Dragonlord or you'd play a Strength Dragonlord for the Trance. I guess it's nice to have the option, but I don't see a point of this change other than for memeing. Although Scimitars being a light weapon without Tempest is nice because now you play a Shade Archive, the Scimitar without Tempest. Guess that's fine. Crossbows will now innately use Dexterity for hit and damage. I don't know what the point of this is. I mean, obviously, crossbows should have a stat to damage. They were the only weapon that didn't. I just don't see the point of Dexterity for hit damage on crossbows. Because on Artificer and Rogue, you're going to go int based. On Paladin, you're going to go charisma based. I guess on Ranger, you could go dex based, but I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's an option, and it's also just worse than Intelligence, because Intelligence, you need 12 AP in Harbor Agent for hit damage and Trance, versus this, you need 13 AP in Horizon Walker for the Trance. It's kind of minor. I guess this is fine. Options are always good. Dagger, Dart, Shuriken thrown weapons now innately use the higher Strength Dexterity. This is a completely meaningless change, and they probably just did that because of this change, not because they actually expected anyone to use it. Main problem with this change is Dagger, Dart, Shurikens get extra double shot from Dex, not Strength. So, unless you're nerfing your build by going Strength based, there's no reason to do this. Throwing Axes and Hammers now use Strength for hit and damage. Throwing Axes and Throwing Hammers don't get the feats and the enhancements for ability score to double shot, meaning that this change means no one's going to use them still because they don't get the double shot. The Brutal Throw feat is changing to +1 damage while using a Throwing Axe or Hammer for every 8 points of Strength. Starting stat level increases in Tome Tier. I mean, this is totally pointless. Because, like, yes, it makes throwing axes and hammers quote-unquote useful, but how about instead of +1 to damage for every 8 points of an ability score, you get +1 double shot per point of an ability score with daggers and dart, or 2 with shurikens. Not to mention, daggers have Vistani Knife Fighter, which is a much better tree than anything you get with these. Kind of useless. I guess it's interesting, but unless this is changed to be like per 1, I don't see the point. Even then, it'd probably still be bad. Now these are specific changes to feats and enhancements that change dex and damage. Weapon Finesse now grants 2 to hit and 10% Fort Bypass. Fort Bypass is one of the most important stats in the game for endgame, so I can pretty much guarantee you that if I ever play like a fighter with a finessable weapon, I'm taking this feat for the Fort Bypass. Also 2 to hit is obviously good because you need a lot to hit. So, good change. Monk Basic Ninja Training, cut text about dex to damage. Advanced Ninja Training, cut text about dex to damage, and now grants 1 to hit damage. So, what these abilities used to do is they used to make it so if you had a weapon that was centering, it got dex to hit and damage, regardless of the weapon type. So if you had like Kensai tier 5 and you were using like a greatsword, you could get dex to hit and damage. Obviously, that's not optimal. But this is just such a strange change, because it kind of just makes those builds unplayable. And I even saw a couple people say that they were playing these builds for the fun, and now they won't work. Also, Dragon Disciple gets centered, I think, battle axes, and pickaxes, and something else. Also, you can get long swords with the feet centered, so you can't use those with dex hit and damage anymore. I truthfully don't know what the point of this change is. It just limits build diversity and doesn't add anything. So yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't know. I don't like that. That might change though. Tempest Core 2 and 3 grants dex hit and damage with all one-handed weapons respectively. Text about turning scimitar to light cut is cut because it's now a... Okay, this is interesting because now you can play dex-based longsword Tempest. Or Kukri, or not Kukri, Kopesh, or Battle Axe. So yeah, good change. I like this. Makes Tempest... You can use more weapons. Assassin Core 1 and 2 cut text about dex, still grants Kukri feat. Core 2 plus 1 damage, 10% fort bypass. Look at this, guys. Rogue is getting 20% fort bypass for free. The sneak attack class that is reliant on fort bypass more than any other class is getting 20% fort bypass. I love that. That's awesome. Rogue Acrobat Core 1 and 2 unchanged. Makes sense. To backseat both types, base Core 1 has had its description adjusted. Trailblazer gets Quarterstaff compatibility. Improved Instincts is now Quarterstaff only, and the Improved Nimble Cat enhancement has been removed from Tabaxi since it no longer serves a purpose. I don't think this changes anything. I don't think this changes anything, because if all finessable weapons are getting dex hit and damage, and then the I believe all these did was add dex hit and damage with all finessable weapons, and then Quarterstaff for Trailblazer. So I think this doesn't do anything, although I have seen some comments about people saying it does change something, and I don't know what that is. So I don't know. I think it's the same though. Deepwood Stalker improved weapon finesse changes to 15% fort bypass plus 3 to hit. Obviously this is great because Deepwood Stalker is a sneak attack tree and it has no to hit in the tree, so thumbs up for me, good change. Bard Swashbuckle. Interesting text. Oh, oops. Removing it since it no longer serves a purpose. General changes in Swashbuckler text support changes. They could have easily done something with it. Swashbuckler needs help, but I guess that's fair. Wood Elf. Dex hit and damage with all weapons, no longer has prerequisites. So now you can get dex hit and damage with any weapon. Wasn't there something else up here that made it? Oh, they replaced Ninja Spy with Wood Elf. So if you want to play Longsword Ninja Spy, you have to be a Wood Elf now. That's funny. Wood Elf unchanged. No one cares. No one plays this race. Please don't play this race. Halfling Skillful Thrower plus 2 to hit damage when using a thrown weapon instead of its previous purpose. So this is kind of pointless because you're never going to play a thrower on anything but an Eladrin or a Tabaxi, so this changes nothing. I guess it's interesting. Elf Graces. Allow dexterity for hit damage with all weapons, no longer as prerequisites. Same as Wood Elf, no problem. Alright, that's the finesse stuff. General feat changes. Cleave gets plus 1 crit range and multi. Great Cleave gets plus 1 throw range and plus 2 multi. People are actually going to take these feats. If you have spare feats, you're going to take these because these are actually useful now. So, thumbs up. Sunder gets plus 10 to its attack roll. Makes sense because you're trying to reduce the enemy's armor class, and if you miss, you don't reduce their armor class, so then this does nothing. Improved Sunder gets plus 20 to its attack roll and plus 60% damage bonus. Dragon Lords are salivating right now. Hamstring cooldown has been reduced from 15 to 6 seconds and now grants 50% damage bonus, no longer requires a rank of sneak attack. I don't think anyone is still going to take this. At least it's a good change. I don't think it makes it good, but I guess that's fine. Slicing Blow cooldown has been reduced from 15 to 6 seconds and now gains a 40% damage bonus. I don't think the damage dice on Slicing Blow is enough to warrant this. I mean, maybe if they made this AoE, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure this is not. They need to buff the damage of the dot more than anything. Whirlwind Attack gets plus 1 crit range and multi. Whirlwind Attack was already good. I don't know why it needs this. I mean, it's kind of just budget Shade Archive chains, but I mean, it's kind of funny. So, I mean, that's cool. I mean, I don't think it needed it, but I guess it's fine. Maybe a bit overpowered, I don't know. Stunning Blow and Sap cooldowns have been reduced, have decreased from 15 to 10, and their base DC is increased from 10 to 14. Sap still has no save. I mean, Stunning Blow was alright. I think the problem is more the DC isn't enough. I don't know. Sap is still terrible. It's bad. Spring Attack gains 20% damage bonus. No one took this for damage. It was always for movement speed. This change means nothing. Improved Precise Shot now passively increases the ability score modifier bonus to damage with longbows and shortbows by 50%, including when the stance is off. This active Precise Shot. I hate Improved Precise Shot because it's so clunky to use and it lowers your damage output. I never took it on any range builds. I'm actually going to take it on longbow and shortbow builds and never turn it on. Because this makes it so bows have 2 times your main ability score damage. I don't think that's going to make it better or comparable to shurikens and throwers and crossbows. I'm pretty sure the attack speed is still not there. But seeing them get even more to damage is nice because now bow is going to hit even harder. So, thumbs up. Tree stuff. Razor Claw. I also tested this. This also applies to regular shifter, so this is both. Magic Fang now has a max cast level 20, so it no longer bugs out when it hits over level 40 ahead of schedule. This is the Magic Fang fix we've been waiting for, and it is both a fix and a nerf, because this at max level is 6 to hit in damage, when previously it was 9, I think? Something like that. Well, anyways, I mean, this is good, because now the ability works and Shifter's playable. I would probably like to see this increase to 25 or 30, so that way it's less bad, or less of a nerf, but I mean, overall, this is great. Now you can actually play Shifter. Blightcasters, Blighted Charge, and Jaws of Doom will use Conjuration instead of Necromancy for DCs. This change means nothing, because these abilities are both bad, and the Druid Trees give no hybrid support. Blight Wolf is worse than regular Wolf. Conjuration, Necromancy, Abjuration, Divination, it does not matter the DCs, unless this is Stun, Trip, or Sunder, thus can be affected by trances. This change means nothing. Favorite Souls, Archon's Fury. Remove spell point cost per blast, damage increase to 2d6 from 1d6 plus 1, and stack size reduced to 10. I don't actually remember what the stack size is. The fact that the damage is nearly doubled, and that means it's going to ramp up damage nearly twice as fast, and also it has no cost. So you're going to take this because now it doesn't have a cost. So that's cool. It's not worth playing Favorite Soul because of this. This changes nothing, but I mean, I guess it's nice. This ability I actually used to nerf your character because it costs so many spell points per blast and basically did nothing. Radiant Servant, Cleric Sacred Fist, positive energy shield buff, increased temp HP to double healing skill, and 4 times healing skill if the target is above level 20 or above. I guess that's fine. I mean, it's just temp HP, but it's nice, I guess. Power Heal, Meta Magic AP cost reduction is reduced, so that's good. Efficient, Divine Healing now scales to 50%. Spell Power only 50% since the duration is so long. We'll now have a line of sight check, double spell range, rare range. I believe this is the ability that dealt like 4d4 hit points per heal skill or something, like point of heal skill or something silly like that. It was really strange. Unless this is the ability unless this is not what I'm thinking of, but the fact that it didn't scale with spell power before is really funny because that meant it was basically useless. So glad it's getting changed. Reactive heal will either scale with spell power or be increased to 2000. Again, that's good. I like that. No problem with that. That ability wasn't very good because of that. Mechanic. Well, the mechanic bomb spells in the tree now use Disable Device for their DC, meaning that you actually can land them, because right now you can't land them. The DC calc is too low, so thumbs up. Mechanic Improved Traps is extra Disable Device. Also gives extra trap DCs. Again, that's fine. Tanglefoot, Thunderstone, and Ooze Flask now deal extra damage per sneak attack dice, and they get the DC update, so that's good. I tested these, and Tanglefoot, its damage was, I think I had like less than 100 range power. The damage was, this is also an ungeared first lifer. The damage was not very good, but I also was missing like 20, 30 sneak attack dice, and I had less than 100 range power when you can easily get over 500, so I don't actually know if these are good. They have a kind of annoying casting animation, which leads me to believe they won't be good. But theoretically, the damage might be alright. I don't know. Time Bomb will now scale with 200% range power. I don't think you're gonna take Time Bomb. But I mean, theoretically, you could do like 20k with Time Bomb. So I mean, maybe it's not that bad. I don't know. Leg Shot has been replaced with Line Up and Sit Down. Range attack, 250% damage, mod knocks target down for 2 seconds, no save. This ability is similar to the whatever the tier 5 in Arcane Archer is, that gives 250 damage mod. So this ability is obviously very good. It still doesn't change the fact that Great Crossbows are ass, and you can't play Mechanic without 4 Artificer. This does not mean you can play a pure Mechanic, but it does make Mechanic better, and it gives you basically a single target nuke, so I guess that's fine. Swap Core 5 Expert Builder with Sniper from Tier 5 gets crit multiplier accessible by level 12. This is interesting. So now you can get the +2 crit multi at level 12, meaning you can take 12 Rogue and then, I don't know, 4 RD, 4 something else as like your split. You no longer need to play with 12 Artificer and lose the crit multi. I don't know if that's better than the current 12 RD, 5 Rogue, 3 Dragonlord, because Sniper is, I think it's like 3 sneak attack dice and 2 W, so it's really strong. But I'm glad the crit multi is moved to this core because it was kind of silly. So that's good. I'm glad it's there now. Vanguard for both Fighter and Paladin. Follow-up now grants more melee power, lasts longer. So basically, follow-up procs on Shield Smash, meaning that this actually has full uptime. Well, okay, it already had almost full uptime. Now it has more than full uptime, and it also gives 6 more melee power. So this is just a straight up buff to Vanguard, which is good. Vanguard is kind of, I don't know, not great. So this is just a straight buff, just free melee power. I like that. Shield Smash now scales as 25, 50, 75% damage instead of whatever. And the PRR MRR buff is replaced with a buff called Battle Guard. Battle Guard lasts 12 seconds and stacks 5 times. 10 PRR and MRR per stack, blocking for more than 3 seconds removes all stacks. What do I think about this ability? I think this ability is one of the most busted things that has ever made it into the game, and I would be completely baffled if this number made it in on live. I could see 5, but this is 50 PRR and MRR basically for free by pressing a button that you're going to be pressing already, and the damage was buffed, so you're actually incentivized to press this button. And now it just gives 50 PR and MRR. That's, also you can't block, but on a Vanguard you're not really blocking, so it's basically free, no downside. Obviously if you're playing a tank, you're gonna probably be, you're gonna want to not block as much, but you're gonna try to block specific attacks, like the Lord of Blades stun attack or whatever. So I guess that means tanking is gonna be more interesting, because you're not just gonna AFK with shield block, but I don't know. I think this whole thing is cool, and I'm glad this is changing. This number is too high. This number is too high. That's really all there is to it. Shield Charge now applies a knockdown to targets in the area with this DC. I actually logged on Telemania expecting this to do nothing. I thought this was the tier 5 ability. This is not the tier 5 ability. This is the tier 4 ability that's a charge. That's basically useless. But now, it's an AoE knockdown. So, you don't even need tier 5 to get an AoE knockdown. It's so crazy. It's insane. This is one of the best changes this tree has ever received. And now that ability is going to be mandatory, because now when you're running R10s or whatever, you can just dash into a crowd of mobs and they all get knocked down, and then you just start beating on them. I mean, it only lasts 2 seconds, but that might be all you need. So, this is a great change. Armor, strength, melee power bonus increase from 10 to 15. This is the thing in the tier 5 that gives you melee power. This change is irrelevant because if you're taking tier 5 Vanguard, you are trolling, because tier 5 Kensai and tier 5 Knight of the Chalice is a million times better, and they actually give more melee power than this in the tier 5. So this change is irrelevant, assuming you play Vanguard correctly. Kensai. Shattering, strike, flash, shot damage increased. This is a big number, by the way. This is a huge number. This means this is the same damage as Slaughter, and it gives a debuff. This is like such a good ability now. This is amazing. This is an insane buff. Except Kensai is worse than Dragon Lord, so no one's gonna see this, but that's not the point. Read in the Wind has an 8-second cooldown. Damage increased. Instead of dodge, it grants the Battle Guard. We talked about that in Vanguard. This is actually even more insane than the Vanguard one, because the Vanguard one requires you to use a shield, because it is on the shield smash button, which means you have to have a shield equipped and use the shield smash. This has no cost and doesn't mean you have to do anything. The only thing you have to do is use your focus weapon, except you're always gonna have your focus weapon in Kensai. So this is also in tier 1, which means anyone can take this. Yeah, I refuse to believe this is gonna make it into the game. This is way too strong. This is way too strong. It's a tier 1. I don't think it needs to be changed to tier 1. This 10 pure on MR, this needs to be cut in like half. This is too much. Vistani Knife Fighter, core 6, attack speed, requires dagger or kukri. Yeah, that's good, because it was really stupid that there was like two-handed fighting builds taking capstone of a tree that maybe 10 points in the whole tree actually gave them anything. They wasted 20-30 points to get this. I'm glad they're changing this, because that was always stupid. Inquisitive, nerfed, nerfed, nerfed. They just completely removed all the range power. The fact that Shuriken right now is already better than Inquisitive, yeah, I don't think it needed this. I think, realistically, the only thing it needed was shoot first cooldown increased to like 8 seconds. I think this is too much. This is like 10 range power, this is 5, and this is 5. That's like 20 less range power. That's a lot. This is sad. I mean, yes, Inquisitive's overpowered, but gotta be honest, it's like shoot first and the imbue's the problem. This is not the problem. Archmage increases school mastery DC by +1. Each core now adds 5 universal spell power. So you get 30 more spell power and a single point more DC. This doesn't change anything. It's still bad. Battle Engineer, tactical mobility is cheaper. Notice how Inquisitive gets completely nerfed? An insane amount. Meanwhile, Artificer Repeater gets buffed. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Enlightened Spirit. This and this are now cheaper. This doesn't matter. It's a spell. You don't take that. And I guess... So basically this is you save 1 AP in a tree that is complete dog shit. So that doesn't... You're never going to play this still. Soul Eater. These two abilities are cheaper. Except no one ever took these abilities because they're both terrible. So yeah, this doesn't mean anything. Spell Focus now costs 2 AP. Planar Focus now costs 1 AP. Eldritch Power costs 1 AP and grants 2 dice instead of 1. This is actually good changes, because that means Tier 5 of Tainted Scholar is, what, 3 points cheaper? It was so expensive to Tier 5. I mean, if you're playing DPS Warlock, you're probably still not going to take this Tier 5. You're still probably going to take Soul Eater, because Eldritch Wave is like 3 times better than Eldritch Ball. Still, I'm glad this is changing, because it's so overpriced. Also, if you take Tier 5, you get an extra die. No complaints. This is the hot topic of discussion on this forum page. I'm not going to the forum post, but here it is. Death Ward no longer completely negates negative energy damage from spells, but reduces it by 50%. This is flagged with the shield trait, much like Fire Shield. Energy Shield is for fire damage. A certain raid boss in the Isle of Dread will now stop stacking energy ball stacks, but this will not affect the Temple of Death form raid. This also applies to monsters when they cast Death Ward, so Pale Masters and Shady Clerics may rejoice. So what does this mean? This means that Death Ward is getting completely butchered. So that way Pale Masters and Dark Apostates can still be unplayable. Because this makes them quote-unquote playable, but like Constructs still exist and Undead still exist. So they basically completely nerfed this spell into the ground, so that way 2 pretty bad builds can still stay bad. Because they didn't actually buff them anywhere up here. If they buffed these trees, I would understand why they did this, but they didn't. So it says it shares it with Fire Shield and Energy Shield. I don't know if that means you can't have Fire Shield and this act at the same time. I assume it does. Yeah, I don't like this change. I mean, I think it was a little silly that one spell completely negated all damage. I think that makes sense. So I understand that. And I'm also glad that they're nerfing the Ghost Flame. Where is it? Bossing Isle of Dread. That's in Skelly's. The Ghost Flame would have hit you with 10 stacks of something that made you more vulnerable to negative and evil damage. And that meant that if you got stacks of that and you got your Death Ward stripped and you weren't a tank and you got hit with Rend the Soul, you basically instantly died. Yeah, so I think that's good because now she theoretically is not going to go around one-shotting people, but it doesn't actually mention her strip. I don't think it mentions her stripping Death Ward unless the stacking negative energy vulnerability is what caused the strip. I don't know. I'd have to test this, but I really don't care. Also, Temple of Deathworm keeps it because it makes sense, so no problem. Lost Souls and Reaper raids. The drop rate for Lost Souls and raids has been greatly increased. Thank God. Thank God. I don't know how much because it's not in the build. If it's like 10 times as much, casters might actually be playable. And, well, I mean, their DPS is still going to be shit. But healers? Oh god, healers won't need to drink pots anymore, thank God. It's about time. Epic. Fury of the Wild Epic Strike Quick Cutter. Yep, that's right. They're nerfing Quick Cutter. It took over a year, but they are doing it. Cooldown increased to 8 seconds. Oh no, we got 2 seconds longer cooldown. Whatever will you do? Quick and bleed duration changed to 10 seconds. If I remember correctly, the bleed duration is 12 and the quick duration is 6. So quick is buffed, bleed is nerfed. Bleed damage reduced to 1d6 per character level. Bleed damage is increased by rank 1 of Spirit of the Beast, by 1d6 and rank 1 of Primal Force for a net total of 3d6. So what does this mean for you as your Shadar Kai abusing, TR Cash exploiting, Ravager Capstone abusing, R10s are a joke build? The cooldown is 2 seconds longer, and you have to take a tier 4 ability and a tree you're already taking tier 4 for. That's the change. So do I agree with this change? Yes, I agree with this change. Do I think Quick Cutter should be nerfed more? Probably. But it always was a little silly that the entire ability was in tier 1. So now you actually have to invest in the tree for it to be good, because tier 1, 1d6 is not good. 2d6 probably isn't good either. So now you have to take tier 4, it's not a choice. So that means that if you don't have enough AP, you're not going to take it. Also, the cooldown being increased is good, because the cooldown was way too short. So, I like this change. Could it be more? Maybe, but yeah, good job. Unyielding Sentinel. Celestial Mandate now applies Battle Guard per target hit instead of its previous buff. If you're using a shield, it always applies 1 extra even if you completely miss. Blocking for more than 3 seconds still removed. So, unlike the heroic ones, I think 50 is fine, because it's an epic ability and you can't block. I personally think they should probably make, I don't know, this like epic battle guard and the heroic ones just regular battle guard and nerf them, but also it's cool if this is gonna apply 2 stacks instead of 1 with shields, so that's good. I do think the blocking for more than 3 seconds removes all stacks is a little questionable, because this is a tank tree, and I get they don't want tanks to be blocking a whole raid. I get that. I think 3 seconds is maybe too short, because there's some raids that the bosses have mechanics that have a long wind up, and you want to block the moment you see the wind up, as opposed to guess when they're about to land the hit, like Lord of Blade's stun. Still though, I think this is fine. This is a good change. I'm glad. And that's the changes. Overall, what do I think about these changes? I think the changes are overall good. The caster buffs are still MIA. What did they do? They made dex to hit damage easier and better. They made the sucky melee feats better across the board, including some that were already good. They made bows better. They changed a bunch of stuff in some trees, and they also changed some build stuff like this, no one cares about, but they made Magic Fang work. But they basically made a bunch of bad range trees and bad melee trees better, and they didn't really do a lot to casters, and I'm not sure why they couldn't do this kind of stuff to casters. There's a bunch of stuff in caster trees that I could easily point out to be like, hey, this sucks. I don't know. Maybe it's coming later. Guess we'll see. Anyways, that's gonna be it for me, and I shall smell you later.